Overwatch has been a bit stale recently. With the last live patch released in September, hope has seemingly been lost, but with the addition of the new experimental card, big changes seem to be coming. Now, while some of these changes might be memes, there is a good chance that many of these do go live. So, I'm going to be breaking down which characters are the memes and which characters will reign supreme. Before we get into the video, it is important that I cover the roadmap for the video, which will be covered in the description. We will start by covering each character categorized by role, discussing their changes and my opinions on the change. To keep the video simple, I have screenshotted all of their changes on the screen for you to see. After this process is complete, I will then create a tier list for what characters I think will be strong after the patch goes live. All of this is timestamped in the description, so if you are interested in only the tier list or a specific character, refer to the description as needed. Let's start off with the tanks. D.va's changes are just kind of weird. She's already extremely strong in many metas, and the changes make her better in areas she really shouldn't be, in my opinion. Getting demeched as D.va is still a disadvantage, but the amount of cheeky opportunities you have to make with remech and melee as D.va is now just sure to get annoying. Looking at some of the other changes, having faster booster jets might be nice for characters to have, but allowing for 4 seconds may be a little bit too much. Overall, these changes seem very unnecessary as she is already crazily strong, but they aren't as out there as some of the others. Orisa will now be extremely tanky. The added increase of armor is absolutely absurd and will likely not go live. However, this is counteracted by having a drastic cut to her shield health. The whole idea of making Orisa more offensive is interesting to me, but I am not sure if this is out of character for Orisa as a main tank. This seems to be an attempt to take double shield out of the game by making Orisa more threatening at face value rather than her utility, which I am intrigued with. Overall, the change seems decent. Reinhardt has received some crazy changes. Most recently, Earthshatter received a change allowing for the ability to do 400 damage upon impact of the hammer, as well as a revert to the old 3-second knockdown duration as compared to a 2.5-second duration. I like how that isn't enough to kill a Reinhardt in one hit, and it allows for the ultimate to maybe find a pick even if the shatter isn't perfect. This also makes shatter better against double shield as it can be used for quick damage if need be. 2 fire strikes at lower damage is interesting and not busted due to D.va having a larger radius to eat them. However, skilled Reinhardts will now be able to build their ultimate faster, and with the recent buffs, might be incredibly strong. Everything else seems to be mostly quality of life and making Rein just a bit stronger, which may bring back Brawl to its former glory state. Roadhog is a lot less tanky and does less damage overall. However, he can still one-shot most squishies every 6 seconds rather than 8. This makes him have a bit higher risk for higher reward, which I do enjoy. For Sigma, aside from the barrier change that makes the character unplayable, if his shield does get nerfed, the changes aren't awful. The buff to his health as well as kinetic grasp speeds up his character greatly into brawl compositions, which I do really appreciate. This is also to rival the dominance of D.va and also kill the idea of double shield. Overall, this is a really good change if the shield is still part of the kit. So, well done, Flats. Our favorite scientist now jumps 10% faster, which is needed in order to keep up with D.va and dive compositions. It also does up to 100 damage to nearby enemies at the landing point, which is incredibly strong. On top of this, he now does double damage against deployables. I have to emphasize that shields are included. This is yet another effort to give characters a leg up against double shield compositions. Lastly, his Primal Rage will now give him 1,500 health instead of 1,000 health. I think this is a bit much, but with some of the DPS buffs, I feel as maybe 1,250 would be more reasonable. With these changes, Winston may just be the leader of the tank pack. Infinite fireballing is no more with Wreckingball, but the nerfs still allow the character to engage like he should. Because of this, however, Ball can now shift directions quicker, which allows for the character to have a higher skill ceiling, which is good. The rest of the changes seem to be making him a character that can engage more but do less with each engagement, which I see as a much needed nerf, but overall doesn't absolutely kill the character. Zarya's changes are very lackluster in my opinion. With the changes to the other characters, these slight buffs just aren't going to be enough to keep up with the speed of Winston, Rein, and D.va. That being said, we haven't seen the pick in competitive settings yet, which we might actually get this Saturday with the Flash Ops tournament. Not a meme, but not stunning either. Starting off with the DPS, we have Ashe. 2 coach guns lets Ashe be extremely mobile with tons of room for mistakes. However, with Dynamite's cooldown increasing, it forces the cooldown to get more value out of aim than just cheap splash damage. These changes make Ashe faster, requiring more precision, making her a more fun and engaging hero. With the new changes making dive incredibly strong, Cassidy is warranted a slight buff. This allows for him to have a bit more of a chance against aggressive characters while also nerfing his extremely strong stun grenade. The tumbleweeds don't hurt anyone, trust me, we've tried. Bastion has received minimal changes that are still borderline useless. Now that double shield compositions are obsolete, he is going to struggle until his rework in Overwatch 2. Sorry for all you Bastion players out there. Doomfist has obtained quite the bit of buffs in the recent update. He has lost initial health, but his abilities give more shields, increasing his effective HP. Meteor Strike is now lethal as the time to land is quicker. Overall, these changes are perfect to make characters stronger at higher ranks without making him super oppressive at lower ranks. Fantastic and needed change. Genji now wall climbs much faster. His vertical mobility is what sets him apart from Sombra and Tracer, making him a more attractive pick on maps like Watchpoint Gibraltar. The Shuriken buff also makes him do more damage and make him more lethal when he does clamber into fights. Overall, nice change. Hanzo is now much faster with his lunge being reduced to a 3-second cooldown. Storm arrows are now like scatter arrows except less powerful. Keep in mind that this is 1 arrow at a time being scattered and not 5. This isn't extremely strong, but it does make Hanzo a little better for players that may struggle when picking the character up. Somjuu chose violence when it came to Junkrat. Junkrat was already struggling and these changes only made him worse, especially with the buffs to D.va, Zarya, Sigma, and the list goes on. These changes should not go live. Pharah has received some interesting changes. She can now move while in Rocket Barrage, which is a nice quality of life change. Her changes make her just a bit more mobile, which is absolutely needed now that Echo is in the game. Overall, these are solid changes for the character. Reaper's changes are really strong. He now will effectively do 15% more damage from longer ranges now that his bullet spread is tighter, and his teleport is somewhat useful now, making him faster for 6 seconds to find a pick. Overall, not game-breaking, but still very good changes for an otherwise weak character. At first glance, Soldier's tac visor change seems to be a bit oppressive. However, when you look at the 10% growth that D.va's defense matrix received, it seems reasonable. The sprint change also makes Soldier just a bit faster, which has been thematic within the experimental patch. It is very hard to balance such a basic character, but Somjuu did a great job. Sombra got a lot of love on this new experimental patch. Hacking a target effectively discords them for 3 seconds, making them die very quickly. Match this with a 10% reduction in bullet spread and you have created a menace of a character. That being said, if you do mess up the hack, you are looking at a 12-second cooldown. High risk, high reward. However, this will be incredible for team play and might need to get tweaked a bit. Symmetra's changes speed up the game quite a bit, but aren't necessarily fantastic. 4 turrets is a nice added bonus to the 50% speed bonus that Teleporter now provides. I don't think this makes Symmetra super great solely because double shield doesn't exist to let her ramp up her beam, but that being said, she will be a decent niche pick. The changes to Torbjorn give the value back to the player by buffing him and nerfing his turret. The changes are a bit memey, however, since most of the buffs revolve around making his hammer stronger. The gun change is nice, but overall this seems like a joke. Why not just pick Tracer? The turret is a lot less scary for not enough Torb reward. Speaking of Tracer, if you didn't think she was already extremely strong, think again. These changes speak for themselves. With the buffs to D.va and Winston and the nerf to Torbjorn, these are some questionable changes, but nonetheless make the character a menace. Widowmaker has had some pretty negligible changes to herself. However, it is important to remember all of the changes that happen to D.va, Sigma, and Orisa, which make her better or worse depending on the context. Echo's sticky bombs now explode instantly and her flight was reduced from 6 to 4. These changes make Pharah's changes seem a little bit obsolete. However, I believe this may be needed for the character. Again, look at D.va's speed change alongside a large defense matrix Matrix. That is how we justify these changes. Frozone has finally found his supersuit and lent it to Mei. She can now Goomba Stomp targets for an instant kill, which is a little memey. However, the big change to look at is within her primary. By popular demand, Mei now gains 50% speed while running on ice. My only critique on this is that it's just for her. This could easily be made into a different ability that creates a trail of ice for her team, but I think that's an idea that Magia should keep for himself. Now it is time to cover the supports. The changes are phenomenal. This allows for Ana to have more carry potential and let her shine as a pub stomping character that she is. What I will say is that this isn't really practical, as she still lacks the survivability that other characters in the support category have. She is definitely on the weaker side of supports even with this change. However, this is something that I could definitely see implemented. While Baptiste's changes may seem overpowered, they hurt the character in a lot of ways. I don't see these changes going through. However, these changes make Baptiste play a lot slower and less cocky, since regenerative bursts cannot be used to save him. In a way, it almost balances the fact that Baptiste still has Immortality Field. I'm also very impressed with the Brigitte changes. This is the perfect way to make the character viable without completely killing her flow. She overall will provide less value for the team, this seems, but this gap can be bridged with a player that is competent on Brigitte. Lucio is a fun one. Without a nerf to Rally or Transcendence, the reduction in cost was definitely needed. The Goomba Stomp mechanic is a little finicky, but that being said, good Lucio players will thoroughly enjoy the buff to his gun while wall riding, as it is already secondhand nature for them. The support changes keep getting better when it comes to Mercy. These changes to Mercy force her to be much more engaged in the fight. While I am not in love with the numbers, I am in love with the concept. This challenges Mercy players to do more than just focus on ultimate tracking and movement, pushing the skill ceiling up and the skill floor down. Changes like this are what Overwatch needs the most. Moira's changes are very good in the sense that it is only adding to the character. Good resource management is still required to heal at a high level, which is good. The character also has utility in the biotic orb outside of just damage and healing. Overall, Moira has a leg up against Ana in more ways than just survivability, but we will get to that shortly. Discord orb finally got nerfed after its oppressive reign in Zenbrig metas. The Discord can be used to melt shields, which goes along with the popular belief that 2 shields simply shouldn't exist. Wall hacks are no longer provided as well, which I agree with. That being said, the idea of Transcendence being more aggressive is interesting, but no longer has as big of an impact as a support ultimate sustain-wise. Overall, this is a nerf to Zen, but an interesting one. Now that we have finished talking about the characters, which ones are looking the best? D.va is absolutely insane with her flight buff, and with the other characters within 6-man dive, she is going to be dominant on this patch. Doomfist and Zarya have the potential to be crazy sleeper picks if the Doom is competent, but I am not sure about this character as of yet. B and below are all under heavy speculation. After playing a bit, Roadhog is really strong, but not good enough to stop the pressure provided by Doom. This is all a prediction, and there is no guarantee on how many characters are going to receive their changes on live. Most of these characters received good changes, excluding Junkrat, so all in all, this looks like it could be a really fun patch. It is important to understand that none of this is final, but the intention of what the community wants is different than what we have been receiving. This patch sends the message that double shield is out of the door, and that it is doable without taking a player out of the game. However, the tank changes seem to be more in touch with what Overwatch 2 power levels are and where they would be as standalone tanks. There's no way that D.va stays the way that she is in 6v6. However, the idea may work in 5v5, which is something we could look for. While this is just a meme, most of these changes would have a positive impact on the game. So that being said, what changes do you like the most? I personally like the fact that the game feels different with this patch, but the uncertainty of the situation makes me nervous for what is to come. All in all, I am still hopeful for the future of Overwatch. After all, there is a reason I'm still here creating content for it. I love the game, and I am sure it is going somewhere good. That all being said, thank you so much for watching, but until next time, I've got to peace out and Paz out. I'll see you in the next one.